Hey everybody, it's David coming at you from Zone 5B in the southwest suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, and I'm coming at you on a Friday, which is a little unusual. Happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day to everybody. I hope you take today to enjoy family and friends, maybe have a cookout, get outside. Hopefully everybody's off of work and just have a really good time to remember that it's Independence Day. Yeah, I wanted to post a quick video. If you guys saw my video last week, you know that I did get my first harvest when I pulled a couple of my banana peppers off of plants in my garden. And a couple of days later, I actually went out and took my first cucumber off of my vines as well. So I wanted to share my new harvest with you guys. Yesterday, I went out and I picked two of my blot peppers, B-L-O-T-T. And you see that amazing coloring. These are sweet peppers. And a couple more of these really big banana peppers. My banana peppers, that's one of my blots, is doing really, really well being out in the garden. And then a couple of my cucumbers. And of course, with some of the squashes, it's really, really important to pull them from the vines, because if they grow to complete maturation, a lot of times the plant will slow down, thinking that it's done its job, that it's produced viable seed, which is what a plant's purpose is. So it's not going to produce as much anymore. By harvesting those a little bit early, you kind of trick the plant into continuously making more and more fruit for us. And that's obviously what we want. Just to give you a quick update, some of the greens that I planted last weekend, arugula, some butter stem broccoli, we have some bok choy, some iceberg lettuce, all popped up really, really fast, even with this warm weather. Everything on the deck is looking pretty good today. The chickens are squawking at me. They're very loud today. So I wanted to talk to you guys about flowers. I got to keep my chickens out of my potato bags because they've been sitting in there making themselves comfortable. Tomatoes, ton of tomatoes on the vine, not really ripening yet. And I think some of my chickens are getting up here and pecking at some of my tomatoes. But everything's looking really, really impressive. But where I wanted to talk to you is out here in the raised garden bed. It's definitely time to mow the lawn, because when it comes to your vegetable plants, you can have a couple of situations. With your tomatoes, with your peppers, you have perfect flowers. Perfect flowers contain both male and female parts, so they don't really need pollination. They don't need pollinators because it's all contained in that one flower. So agitation, whether it's being blown by the wind or if you go up and give it a little shake, is often enough to pollinate those flowers. A couple of cucumbers. These are my Honey Plus hybrids, so they are supposed to be yellow cucumbers. And I do have a pollinator flying around in there as well. Got a little bee. I don't know if I can find him for you on here. Here we go. Doing the job for me. But with cucumbers and a lot of squashes, it's a little different. And you might have a situation like I currently have here, where I seem to have a lot of flowers on this squash and not much fruit. And I wanted to take a second to kind of try to explain that to you, just in case you're new to gardening, because it can be a little confusing at first. So if you have a vegetable plant that is not a perfect flower, or it's a monoecious flower, that means it would have both male and female flowers. So the trick is telling the difference between the male and female flowers, and there's a really easy way to do that. When you have a flower like this one, and you see it's got that swelling behind it, that kind of looks like a baby vegetable. Here's another one here that's not open yet. That is the female flower. The male flowers are just going to have the stem with no swelling, with no vegetable behind it, and they can come in all different shapes and sizes, all different colors. And what we need in these cases are pollinators like our bees, like our butterflies, to get attracted to the male flower, where they can get the pollen from the male flower and take it up to the open female flower and to fertilize the flower. Once it's fertilized, then you'll see the fruit, like on this one, or the vegetable, start to grow, and that's what becomes the harvest. That's what we're looking for. If you're in an area where you don't think you have a lot of pollinators, where you may not have a lot of bees and butterflies and other insects that would do the pollination for you, you can help that along by coming through and grabbing a male flower, like this one down here, and tearing it off. Hang on while I brace my tripod. And then if you open the male flower gently, we want to get the pollen from there into our female flower. So we can take and dip our male flower into the female flower to try to get that pollen down there to pollinate that flower. And then you could use this to pollinate other female flowers as well. During the early part of the season with these types of plants, they produce predominantly male flowers to attract more of the pollinators. And then you'll see more of the female flowers. So it looks like a lot of the flowers on the lower part of the squash for me were male flowers. There's one here, another one here. And then they will eventually wither and die. And if the female flower doesn't get pollinated, the same will happen with this little fruit. The flower and the fruit will wither and fall off the vine and die. So I do have 3 right here. Now with cucumbers, there's a couple different types of cucumbers that it's helpful to know. The monoecious ones are kind of the typical ones that at least I thought about when I first started gardening. Those are the ones that'll have male and female flowers. You can see a lot of male flowers. I have a lot of pollinators flying around here. And pollinators have to get the pollen from the male flower, put it in the female flower to get that fruit to grow. There are also certain types of cucumbers that are called gynoecious, and these primarily grow female flowers. So you're likely to have higher production from these cucumbers, but the problem is you still need a male flower to pollinate it. So you can't just plant all gynoecious plants, or there won't be any of the pollen to get things rolling. So you have to plant at least a couple of the monoecious next to the gynoecious. I know these words are really long, so I hope I'm pronouncing them correctly, and hopefully it's not too confusing. And I just noticed that something is my grapevines here, and I have a beetle on there as well. That might be what's eating it. I'm going to have to look into that. And then the third type of cucumber is called Parth cucumbers. Parthenocarpic cucumbers basically have perfect flowers. So like a tomato, like a pepper, it can pollinate itself. You don't have to have pollinators. The flowers are able to pollinate themselves. They can cross-pollinate, which could help production as well. You see some of my beautiful brown cherry flowers on here. But it can do it all on its own. So the parthenocarpic varieties are the preferred ones. Here's one of my these are going to be big ground cherries this year. Last year they were a lot smaller. The parthenocarpic varieties are the ones that are preferred for greenhouses. If you're growing in a greenhouse, if you're growing indoors, again, if you're growing in an area where you might not have enough pollinators, parthenocarpic varieties will still allow you to grow a lot of fruit without having to worry about the pollinators. Now, a couple of my cucumber varieties, including the one that I first picked off earlier this week, you see this really big, long cucumber. That is one of my parthenocarpic ones. I believe that's my bait alpha. And they are largely seedless cucumbers as well. So you run less risk of having bitter cucumbers. The downside is, of course, since it is considered seedless, that you wouldn't be able to save seeds for the next year. But again, you won't need pollinators. So it kind of makes that step a little bit easier. I have one beet that's really, really ready to go there. That's my first beet, so I'm really excited about that. Just wanted to share these quick words with you guys in case you're gardening like I am. You see all these beautiful flowers on your cucumbers, on your squash, and you're seeing fruit, vegetables being produced. I wanted to give you just a quick understanding of the difference between the flowers, while also giving you a quick garden tour. I showed you all of the peppers that I just have rocking away here in the garden. So I'm going to have a huge pepper harvest soon. With peppers, it's okay to leave them on to ripen a little bit more. With tomatoes, you can actually, and this is a little bit controversial, but you can actually pluck them off the vines when they first start to color, which is called the breaker stage, because most people believe, and it's been shown, that the flavor's kind of locked in by that point. I have some cherry tomatoes in there growing. If you leave them on the vine too long, that's when they're going to attract bugs, and they're going to attract more pests and animals, so you might not end up with a harvest at all. And I do have a tomato that's splitting here because I didn't have it pruned well enough, and now the branches are getting way too heavy. So I'm going to have to get this clipped up to the cords before it breaks. So again, I just wanted to do a quick day. Happy 4th of July, everybody. I don't know if I'm going to have any more videos this weekend. I might. We have some baseball for my son today. Hopefully it goes well as the season's winding down. Once again, get out, get growing. Put something in the dirt. The sunflowers I have on the deck are beautiful. Every time I go to the Tractor Supply store or Home Depot or any store that has a gardening section, I'm drawn to that gardening section, looking for seeds or plants, looking for something to grow because it is so rewarding. So try to grow something. It's still not too late. You could throw cucumbers in the ground and end up with a huge harvest before the end of the season. Tomatoes and peppers might be a little too late for, depending on where you're at, but cucumbers, lettuce, the greens that I have on my deck, there's still plenty of time for stuff like that. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comments for me. I love interacting with you guys. I hope you liked the video. Hit that like button for me. It helps my algorithm on the channel. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to know when my next video is posted. Share my content, please. Help me get out there. Help me talk to other gardeners who might be new to this like I am. My buddy Danny at Growing Together a Garden Story down in Texas, he and I talk a lot. And he's in the same kind of situation I am. Came to garden late, doing the YouTube thing. Just trying to get out there and share our passion. So hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy the weather. Spend time with friends and family. Get out on the water. Have a barbecue. Remember to grow a little every single day in every way. And I can't wait to see you guys all back here again next time on Come Grow with David A. Have a good weekend. Happy 4th of July, everybody.